Chapter 1. The Town Divided. The town of Crestwood found itself at the heart of a divisive and emotionally charged debate regarding the presence of the Confederate flag. What had once been a quiet southern town known for its historical charm and close-knit community was now the center of national attention. The conflict arose when the local government proposed the removal of a Confederate flag that had flown in the town square for generations. To some, the flag was an enduring symbol of Southern heritage and pride, representing the sacrifices of their ancestors. To others, it was an emblem of oppression, racism, and an outdated past that had no place in a modern, inclusive society. Community members quickly took sides, forming advocacy groups and organizing rallies to voice their opinions. The town meetings became battlegrounds for passionate debates, with citizens bringing forth historical evidence, personal anecdotes, and legal arguments to defend their positions. For many, the flag represented more than just a piece of cloth. It was a deeply personal and emotional issue tied to their identity, beliefs, and experiences. Families were divided, friendships strained, and businesses faced backlash depending on where they stood on the matter. As tensions escalated, some individuals feared that the controversy would permanently fracture the community. Social media further fueled the debate, with viral posts and heated discussions spreading beyond the town's borders. The issue also attracted the attention of outside political groups, each attempting to influence the town's decision for their own agendas. Despite the town's division, there were individuals who sought to mediate the conflict. Clergy members, educators, and local historians attempted to create spaces for dialogue and understanding, hoping to bridge the gap between opposing perspectives. Yet, with emotions running high, finding common ground proved to be an uphill battle. As the debate raged on, the town's leaders were left with a difficult decision. Should they prioritize historical preservation, freedom of expression, and local tradition, or should they take a stand against symbols that some saw as divisive and harmful? The outcome of this controversy would not only shape the future of Crestwood, but also serve as a reflection of broader societal struggles over history, identity, and the evolving meaning of heritage in America. Chapter 2. The Historical Significance. The Confederate flag has long been a subject of historical debate, with its meaning evolving over time. Originally adopted as a battle flag during the American Civil War, it was carried by Confederate soldiers who fought against the Union. To some, the flag represents the valor and sacrifice of those who fought for their way of life, including states' rights and local governance. However, others argue that it is a painful reminder of slavery, racial oppression, and an era in which millions of people were denied their basic human rights. Throughout history, the Confederate flag has resurfaced in various contexts. In the early 20th century, it became associated with the Lost Cause movement, an effort to reshape the narrative of the Civil War, portraying the Confederate cause as noble and just. This movement sought to downplay the role of slavery and instead emphasize Southern culture and resistance against federal authority. As a result, monuments and memorials featuring the flag were erected across the South, solidifying its place in regional identity. During the civil rights movement of the 1950s and 1960s, the Confederate flag took on a new meaning as it was adopted by segregationists who opposed racial integration and equal rights for Black Americans. It was prominently displayed by groups resisting desegregation, reinforcing its association with racial tensions and white supremacy. This era marked a significant shift in how the flag was perceived, particularly by marginalized communities who saw it as a symbol of resistance to progress and justice. Despite its controversial nature, the flag remains a deeply ingrained part of Southern heritage. Many argue that it is a symbol of regional pride, independence, and a connection to their ancestors. For some, removing the flag would mean erasing an important part of history. Others counter that history should be remembered through education and museums rather than through public displays that may alienate certain groups. Today, the Confederate flag continues to spark heated discussions in public and political spheres. In recent decades, efforts have been made to remove the flag from government buildings, license plates, and state flags. Many Southern states have faced pressure to reevaluate the use of Confederate symbols in official capacities. While some have taken action to remove them, others have resisted, citing tradition and historical significance. The debate over the flag in Crestwood reflects a broader struggle in American society: how to reconcile history with progress, and how to honor the past while building a more inclusive future. The challenge lies in understanding multiple perspectives and acknowledging the impact symbols can have on different communities. As Crestwood grapples with this issue, it is clear that the flag's meaning is deeply personal, complex, and tied to the evolving narrative of American identity. Chapter 3: Voices of Protest. The controversy surrounding the Confederate flag in Crestwood was not without resistance. Protesters from both sides of the debate took to the streets, organizing rallies, demonstrations, and counter-protests to voice their positions. Activists advocating for the removal of the flag argued that its presence in public spaces perpetuated racial injustice and hindered progress toward unity. They marched with signs bearing messages of equality, inclusion, and historical reckoning, urging the town's officials to recognize the pain the flag symbolized for many citizens. On the other side, supporters of the flag staged counter-protests, asserting their right to preserve what they viewed as a vital part of their Southern heritage. Many saw the movement to remove the flag as an attempt to erase history and dismiss the sacrifices made by Confederate soldiers. For them, the flag stood as a symbol of resilience, cultural identity, and regional pride. They waved Confederate flags high, sang patriotic songs, and held speeches defending their traditions. As tensions rose, local law enforcement found themselves tasked with maintaining order amid heated confrontations. Some protests remained peaceful, with both sides engaging in debates and discussions to understand each other's perspectives. Others, however, turned violent, with instances of vandalism, arrests, and public clashes making national headlines. The town square became a focal point for these demonstrations, drawing media coverage and activists from across the country who sought to influence the town's decision. Religious leaders, educators, and historians sought to mediate the conflict by hosting town hall meetings and educational forums. They aimed to foster a dialogue that encouraged understanding and compromise. Some members of the community, regardless of their stance on the flag, called for peaceful resolution, advocating for unity and mutual respect. The protests in Crestwood echoed a broader national debate about the role of Confederate symbols in American society. Similar protests had taken place in other towns and states, leading to policy changes and removals of Confederate statues and flags. As the voices of protest grew louder, the town's officials faced mounting pressure to take a decisive stance, knowing that whatever decision they made would have lasting repercussions on the town's identity and social fabric. The passion and fervor of both groups underscored the deeply personal and complex nature of the debate. For some, it was a fight for justice and change. For others, it was a battle for heritage and remembrance. The question remained: could Crestwood find a way to honor its history while also acknowledging the need for inclusivity and progress? Chapter 4: A Symbol or a Stain? The Confederate flag has long been a source of contention, representing vastly different meanings depending on the perspective. For some, it is a symbol of Southern heritage, pride, and historical legacy. To others, it is an emblem of oppression, racism, and division. The debate surrounding the flag has continued for decades, growing more intense as the push for social justice and racial equality gains traction in modern society. In Crestwood, the flag's presence has led to heated debates over whether it belongs in public spaces. Supporters argue that the flag represents the courage and sacrifices of Confederate soldiers who fought in the Civil War, seeing it as an important historical artifact rather than a political statement. They insist that removing the flag erases history and disrespects the memory of their ancestors. Conversely, opponents see the flag as an undeniable reminder of slavery and systemic oppression. They believe its display in public areas sends a message of exclusion and hostility to marginalized communities, particularly Black residents. For them, taking the flag down is not about erasing history, but about recognizing its painful legacy and choosing a more inclusive future. The struggle over the flag's symbolism extends beyond Crestwood. Across the country, many state governments and institutions have removed Confederate symbols, acknowledging their divisive nature. Some businesses have discontinued products featuring the flag, while sports teams have banned it from their venues. These actions have sparked backlash from those who see such measures as an infringement on personal rights and freedom of expression. Historians weigh in on both sides, arguing that symbols evolve over time and that the Confederate flag's meaning has been shaped by historical and political contexts. While it once represented the Confederacy, it later became associated with segregationists and white supremacist groups, further complicating its legacy. Public perception of the flag has shifted due to these evolving associations, making it one of the most controversial symbols in American history. As Crestwood's officials grapple with whether to remove or retain the flag, they must consider the long-term impact of their decision. Keeping the flag may uphold tradition for some but continue alienating others, reinforcing a legacy of division. Removing it may promote inclusivity, but risk accusations of disregarding local heritage. In the end, the question remains: is the Confederate flag a proud reminder of the past, or a stain on American history? The answer, as with many complex historical debates, depends on who is asked. And in Crestwood, the search for a resolution continues. Chapter 5: The Political Influence. The debate over the Confederate flag in Crestwood was not just a local issue. It had deep political implications that reached far beyond the town's borders. Politicians, advocacy groups, and national media outlets quickly became involved, each using the controversy to further their own agendas. The discussion surrounding the flag became a microcosm of the larger national conversation on race, heritage, and identity. Local politicians found themselves in a difficult position. On one hand, they had to acknowledge the concerns of constituents who viewed the flag as an integral part of their history. On the other hand, they faced mounting pressure from civil rights organizations and progressive leaders advocating for the flag's removal. Some politicians took a firm stance, either championing the flag as a protected symbol of heritage or condemning it as a relic of racial injustice. Others attempted to remain neutral, urging the community to engage in discussions to find a compromise. The controversy also attracted the attention of state and federal leaders. Governors and senators from surrounding states weighed in, often using the debate as an opportunity to solidify their political platforms. Conservative politicians generally supported the flag's continued display, emphasizing states' rights and cultural tradition. Meanwhile, progressive leaders framed the issue as one of civil rights, arguing that removing the flag was necessary to foster an inclusive society. National advocacy groups joined the fray, funding advertisements, organizing protests, and lobbying government officials. Civil rights organizations called for legislative action to prohibit the display of Confederate symbols on public property, while heritage groups launched campaigns defending the flag's historical significance. The financial and political influence of these organizations heightened the stakes, turning what had started as a local issue into a national battle. The media played a significant role in shaping public perception. News networks broadcast emotional town hall meetings, interviews with residents, and expert analyses on the historical significance of the flag. Conservative media often portrayed the controversy as an attack on Southern heritage, while liberal outlets framed it as part of a broader struggle against systemic racism. Social media further amplified the discussion, with viral posts, online petitions, and debates dominating platforms like Twitter and Facebook. As political and financial interests grew, the voices of Crestwood's residents sometimes felt drowned out. Many community members, regardless of their stance, expressed frustration that their town had become a political spectacle. They worried that outside influences were shaping the debate more than the people who actually lived in Crestwood. Ultimately, the political influence surrounding the Confederate flag debate in Crestwood highlighted the broader tensions in American society. The town's struggle mirrored national divisions, forcing both residents and politicians to confront difficult questions about history, identity, and the evolving meaning of heritage in the modern world. As the debate continued, the town's leaders faced mounting pressure to make a decision that would define Crestwood's future and its place in the ongoing national conversation. Chapter 6: Community Perspectives. The discussion surrounding the Confederate flag in Crestwood evoked a wide range of reactions from the community, highlighting the deeply personal nature of the debate. Residents had differing perspectives based on their backgrounds, personal experiences, and generational ties to the region. For many longtime residents, particularly those whose families had lived in Crestwood for generations, the flag represented an important piece of local history. They viewed it as a symbol of Southern pride, honoring ancestors who fought in the Civil War. Some argued that the flag should remain as a historical reminder rather than being erased due to shifting societal attitudes. Conversely, younger generations and new residents often saw the flag as a divisive relic of the past. Many of them, especially those from marginalized communities, expressed discomfort with its presence, arguing that it symbolized oppression and a refusal to acknowledge historical injustices. They felt that moving forward as a community required letting go of symbols that caused pain and alienation. Community leaders attempted to bridge the divide by hosting forums where residents could share their perspectives. In these meetings, personal stories emerged that demonstrated the emotional weight of the issue. One Black resident shared how seeing the flag in public spaces made them feel unwelcome in their own town. Another resident, a descendant of a Confederate soldier, explained that their family did not see the flag as a racist emblem, but as a tribute to their forebears. Religious institutions also played a role in the discussion. Some local churches called for unity and reconciliation, urging the town to consider removing the flag to foster inclusivity. Others defended its presence, citing religious freedoms and the right to honor history without government interference. Business owners in Crestwood had their own concerns. Some worried that continuing to display the flag might deter potential customers and investors who perceived the town as unwelcoming. Others feared that removing it would alienate longtime customers who saw it as a cherished part of their heritage. As discussions progressed, some residents proposed compromises, such as relocating the flag to a museum rather than keeping it in public spaces. This idea found support from moderates on both sides, who saw it as a way to preserve history while acknowledging contemporary concerns. The community perspectives on the flag debate illustrated the broader tensions at play in Crestwood. While some saw the flag as an integral part of their identity, others viewed it as an obstacle to progress and unity. As the town grappled with these opposing viewpoints, it became clear that any resolution would require not just a political decision, but also an effort to foster deeper understanding among its residents. Chapter 7. The Role of Media. The media played a crucial role in shaping the Confederate flag debate in Crestwood, amplifying voices on both sides and influencing public perception. From local newspapers to national television networks and social media platforms, the discussion reached far beyond the town's borders, turning a local issue into a nationwide controversy. Local news outlets initially covered the debate as a community issue, interviewing residents, officials, and historians. Some journalists attempted to provide balanced reporting, highlighting perspectives from both supporters and opponents of the flag. However, as national media took notice, the narrative shifted. Conservative outlets often framed the controversy as an attack on Southern heritage and free expression, while progressive media portrayed it as a struggle against racial injustice and historical oppression. Television networks dispatched reporters to Crestwood, broadcasting emotional town hall meetings, street protests, and interviews with activists. The presence of cameras changed the dynamic of the debate, as residents realized their words and actions could be broadcast to millions. Some community members felt the media coverage accurately reflected the town's divisions, while others believed it sensationalized the issue, making it seem more extreme than it actually was. Social media played an equally significant role in the controversy. Hashtags supporting both sides, some calling for the removal of the flag, others defending its historical significance, trended on platforms like Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Viral posts and videos of heated debates further escalated tensions, with online users, many of whom had no connection to Crestwood, weighing in with their own opinions. Online petitions emerged, some demanding the flag be taken down and others calling for it to remain. Misinformation and propaganda also spread rapidly, False reports, exaggerated claims, and manipulated images fueled outrage on both sides. Some users created fake social media accounts to stir conflict, exacerbating divisions within the town. The media frenzy not only influenced public opinion, but also pressured local leaders to act quickly, as their decisions were scrutinized on a national scale. The involvement of media outlets also brought external influences into the debate. Activists from outside Crestwood traveled to the town, some to support the removal of the flag, others to defend it. Political commentators used the controversy to advance their own agendas, sometimes oversimplifying the complex historical and cultural factors at play. Ultimately, the role of media in the Confederate flag debate highlighted the power of information and storytelling in shaping public discourse. While some residents appreciated the increased awareness of their community's struggle, others felt that the national attention had made the situation more polarized and difficult to resolve. As Crestwood continued to grapple with the issue, the media remained an influential force, capable of both fostering dialogue and deepening divisions. Chapter 8: Legal Challenges. The controversy surrounding the Confederate flag in Crestwood was not just a matter of public opinion, it also had significant legal implications. The question of whether the flag could remain in public spaces was not solely up to the town's leaders. It was deeply intertwined with state and federal laws, constitutional rights, and legal precedents set by similar cases across the country. One of the primary legal issues was the First Amendment, which guarantees freedom of speech. Supporters of the flag argued that its removal would be a violation of their right to free expression. They claimed that banning the flag from government buildings and public areas could set a dangerous precedent for restricting other forms of speech and historical symbols. Opponents countered that while individuals had the right to display the flag on private property, public institutions had a responsibility to ensure that symbols associated with racism and oppression did not receive government endorsement. Another legal challenge stemmed from state heritage laws. Some southern states have laws protecting Confederate symbols, making it difficult for local governments to remove flags, statues, and monuments without state approval. In Crestwood, this created a legal hurdle, as the town had to navigate these restrictions while responding to calls for change from its citizens. Legal battles in other towns had led to lawsuits, with courts often weighing the balance between historical preservation and the need for inclusive public spaces. Property rights also played a role in the debate. While the main flag in question was displayed in a public square, private businesses and homeowners who displayed the Confederate flag faced their own legal considerations. Some businesses that refused to take down the flag faced public backlash and potential economic consequences, while others challenged regulations that sought to limit their right to display historical symbols on their property. The Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment was another factor in legal discussions. Some civil rights groups argued that the continued presence of the Confederate flag in public spaces created a hostile environment, particularly for Black residents. They cited legal cases where courts ruled against government-sanctioned displays that contributed to discrimination or social exclusion. Legal experts and civil rights organizations became involved, offering legal guidance to both sides of the debate. Some groups sought injunctions to prevent the removal of the flag, while others filed lawsuits arguing that its presence in government spaces was unconstitutional. These legal battles had the potential to reach higher courts, setting national precedents on the issue. As the legal challenges mounted, Crestwood's officials faced increasing pressure to find a solution that would withstand legal scrutiny while addressing the concerns of its citizens. The town's attorneys worked to navigate complex legal frameworks, ensuring that any decision made would not only reflect the will of the people, but also hold up in court. Ultimately, the legal challenges surrounding the Confederate flag in Crestwood highlighted the complexities of governance, constitutional rights, and the legal process. The town's decision would not only shape its own policies, but could also influence legal interpretations of similar cases across the country. As court hearings and legal arguments continued, the town braced for the long-term implications of its choice. Chapter 9: Education and Awareness. Education plays a crucial role in shaping public understanding of the Confederate flag and its significance in American history. Many historians argue that a lack of awareness about the Civil War, Reconstruction, and the Civil Rights Movement has led to misinterpretations and conflicts over the flag's meaning. For some, the flag symbolizes Southern heritage and a tribute to ancestors who fought in the war, while for others, it represents a painful reminder of oppression and racism. To bridge this divide, educational institutions, museums, and community programs must take an active role in fostering informed discussions. In Crestwood, local schools have begun integrating comprehensive history lessons that include diverse perspectives on the Confederate flag. Teachers emphasize the historical context in which the flag was created, explaining its association with the Confederacy, its resurgence during the Civil Rights Movement, and the contemporary debate surrounding its symbolism. By presenting factual, unbiased information, educators hope to encourage critical thinking and constructive dialogue among students. Community workshops and public lectures have also emerged as platforms for discussion. Historians, civil rights activists, and legal experts have been invited to speak at town hall meetings, offering insights into the flag's evolving significance. These initiatives aim to provide residents with a deeper understanding of the complexities surrounding Confederate symbols and their impact on different communities. Museums and historical societies play a vital role in preserving history while promoting awareness. Instead of glorifying or vilifying the flag, museums strive to contextualize it within a broader historical framework. Exhibits include first-hand accounts from individuals affected by the flag's legacy, shedding light on how it has been used both as a symbol of pride and as a tool of intimidation. Some museums in the South have adopted an approach that presents the flag alongside narratives of slavery, Reconstruction, and segregation, ensuring that visitors understand the full scope of its history. Additionally, social media and digital platforms have become powerful tools for education and awareness. Online discussions, documentaries, and articles provide easily accessible information that challenges myths and misconceptions about the Confederate flag. Fact-checking initiatives have been implemented to counter misinformation, ensuring that public discourse remains grounded in historical accuracy. Despite these efforts, challenges remain. Some residents resist changes to traditional curricula, viewing them as attempts to rewrite history. Others feel that discussions on the flag should focus solely on honoring the past, rather than addressing its more controversial aspects. Finding a balance between these perspectives requires open dialogue and a commitment to historical truth. In Crestwood, the push for education and awareness has fostered a more nuanced conversation about the Confederate flag. While disagreements persist, increased understanding has helped some residents find common ground. As the town continues to grapple with the issue, education remains a key factor in shaping a more informed and inclusive community. Chapter 10. The Business Impact. The Confederate flag debate in Crestwood had significant ramifications for local businesses. The controversy divided customers, with some boycotting establishments that display the flag and others refusing to support businesses that advocated for its removal. This division created a challenging environment for business owners, who were forced to navigate the economic impact of the town's polarizing views. Small businesses, particularly family-owned stores and restaurants, faced the brunt of the impact. Many owners found themselves in a difficult position, trying to maintain neutrality while facing pressure from both sides. Some businesses chose to display the flag, aligning with their long-standing customer base, while others removed it to avoid alienating potential patrons who found it offensive. Both decisions carried financial risks, with some businesses experiencing a decline in sales depending on their stance. Large corporations with operations in Crestwood were not immune to the effects of the debate. Some national brands distanced themselves from the controversy, issuing statements emphasizing diversity and inclusion while avoiding direct involvement in the local dispute. Others, however, faced backlash for perceived corporate stances, resulting in protests outside their establishments or calls for boycotts on social media. The tourism industry also suffered as a result of the flag debate. Visitors who saw Crestwood as a charming historic town began reconsidering their travel plans, wary of the social unrest. Hotels, tour companies, and local attractions noted a decline in bookings, forcing the town's leaders to assess the broader financial implications of the controversy. Some tourism boards attempted to rebrand the town's image, focusing on its cultural heritage and historic significance beyond the Confederate flag issue. Local chambers of commerce organized discussions among business leaders to explore possible solutions. Some suggested that businesses avoid taking public stances, while others encouraged the adoption of inclusive symbols that would appeal to a broader customer base. A few entrepreneurs saw an opportunity amid the controversy, launching new ventures that celebrated local history in ways that were both respectful and commercially viable. Real estate was another industry affected by the flag debate. Some prospective homebuyers hesitated to invest in Crestwood, concerned that the division within the community could affect property values. Real estate agents reported that questions about the flag controversy became a common concern among those considering relocation to the town. Ultimately, the business impact of the Confederate flag debate highlighted the intersection of commerce, politics, and social values. As the controversy continued, business owners had to adapt to shifting consumer sentiments, balancing their economic interests with the town's evolving cultural identity. The decisions made by businesses during this time would shape the town's economic landscape for years to come, influencing Crestwood's reputation and its ability to attract future investment and growth. Chapter 11. Religious Perspective. Religious institutions in Crestwood played a significant role in the debates surrounding the Confederate flag. Faith leaders from different backgrounds approached the controversy with varied perspectives, shaped by theological teachings, historical interpretations, and the principles of community unity and reconciliation. Some local churches viewed the Confederate flag as a symbol of heritage and tradition. They emphasized the values of honor, sacrifice, and familial pride, arguing that faith and historical identity could coexist without division. Sermons preached in these congregations often focused on preserving the past while fostering dialogue with those who felt differently. For these church leaders, removing the flag signaled an erasure of history rather than an act of inclusivity. On the other hand, many religious leaders, particularly those from Black churches and progressive faith communities, saw the flag as a painful reminder of oppression and racial injustice. They called for its removal from public spaces, arguing that faith requires acknowledging historical wrongs and working towards justice and healing. These congregations emphasized scriptural teachings on equality, love, and unity, encouraging open conversations about the historical implications of the flag and the need for reconciliation. Interfaith organizations in Crestwood sought to bridge the divide by organizing discussions and prayer meetings focused on mutual understanding. Some clergy members facilitated town-wide forums where members of the community could share their views in a safe and respectful environment. Their goal was to shift the conversation from one of conflict to one of healing and spiritual growth. Despite these efforts, tensions remained. Some faith leaders who advocated for the removal of the flag faced backlash from their congregations, while others who supported its presence found themselves at odds with younger, more diverse members of their communities. The debate even extended to religious symbols. Some questioned whether churches should continue displaying Confederate imagery in their sanctuaries, or whether these symbols should be retired in favor of more inclusive representations of faith and unity. As the discussion progressed, certain churches took tangible steps toward promoting reconciliation. Some hosted workshops on racial history and social justice, while others partnered with historians to contextualize the Civil War's impact on faith communities. A few churches removed Confederate symbols from their properties, replacing them with memorials dedicated to unity and peace. Ultimately, the religious perspectives on the Confederate flag reflected the broader struggle within Crestwood. Faith communities found themselves grappling with history, morality, and the evolving definition of justice. As the town continued to navigate this challenging issue, religious leaders remained at the forefront, guiding their congregations with messages of faith, understanding, and hope for a more unified future. Chapter 12. Personal Stories. The Confederate flag debate in Crestwood was not just a political and historical issue. It was deeply personal for many residents. People from different backgrounds and generations had their own unique experiences and perspectives on what the flag represented, and their stories illustrated the complexity of the issue. For some, the flag was a cherished part of their family's history. John Simmons, a lifelong resident of Crestwood, grew up hearing stories from his grandfather about the Civil War and the sacrifices made by Confederate soldiers. To him, the flag was a reminder of his ancestors' resilience and Southern pride. He kept a framed Confederate flag in his home, passed down through generations, and saw its removal from public spaces as an erasure of history. In contrast, Sarah Jenkins, a Black business owner in Crestwood, had a different perspective. Growing up, she often felt uncomfortable seeing the flag displayed prominently around town. To her, it was a symbol of oppression and a painful reminder of segregation. She recalled her grandmother's stories of discrimination during the Jim Crow era and how the flag had been used as a symbol of intimidation. When the town proposed removing the flag, she felt it was a necessary step toward progress and inclusivity. For Michael Rodriguez, a high school history teacher, the issue was one of education and awareness. He had spent years teaching students about the Civil War and the Reconstruction era, emphasizing the importance of understanding history from multiple perspectives. He believed that while the flag had historical significance, its display should be contextualized in museums rather than public spaces, where it could be interpreted in ways that divided the community. Emily Thompson, a mother of two, found herself caught in the middle of the debate. Her husband's family supported the flag as a piece of Southern heritage, while her best friend, a civil rights advocate, viewed it as a divisive symbol. She struggled to explain the controversy to her children, who saw the flag but didn't yet understand its deeper meaning. Wanting to foster an environment of understanding, she attended town hall meetings and encouraged open discussions within her family. Veterans in the community also weighed in on the issue. James Carter, a retired Marine, believed in the importance of honoring all soldiers, including those who fought for the Confederacy. However, he also acknowledged that the flag had been used in modern times as a rallying symbol for hate groups, making it difficult to separate history from contemporary implications. He advocated for a compromise, placing the flag in a museum while erecting new memorials that honored all veterans, regardless of their affiliations. As personal stories continued to emerge, the town realized that the Confederate flag debate was not simply about politics or ideology. It was about identity, memory, and the way history shaped people's lives. Crestwood residents found themselves facing difficult but necessary conversations about how to honor their past while ensuring an inclusive future. Chapter 13: The Generational Divide. The debate over the Confederate flag in Crestwood was not only a matter of historical interpretation and political discourse, but also a stark reflection of generational differences. Older residents, many of whom grew up with a flag as a fixture of their childhoods, tended to see it as an emblem of Southern heritage, familial pride, and a symbol of resilience. In contrast, younger generations, exposed to diverse perspectives through education, social media, and evolving cultural narratives, often viewed the flag as a divisive symbol associated with racial injustice and exclusion. For many older residents, the Confederate flag was a link to their ancestors, a tangible representation of the values they were taught about tradition and history. They remembered seeing the flag at community events, displayed proudly on public buildings, and honored in history books. To them, the removal of the flag was seen as an attack on their cultural identity, a rewriting of history that ignored the sacrifices of their forebears. They often voiced concerns that contemporary movements seeking to remove the flag were disregarding the complexities of the past in favor of a more revisionist view. Younger residents, on the other hand, tended to take a more critical approach. Educated in an era where history lessons included deeper explorations of systemic racism, slavery, and the civil rights movement, they saw the flag as a painful reminder of a troubled past. To them, the continued display of the Confederate flag in public spaces was a barrier to inclusivity and progress. Many younger activists in Crestwood argued that honoring history should not come at the expense of alienating or marginalizing communities affected by its legacy. This generational divide was evident in public forums and town hall meetings, where older and younger residents often found themselves at odds. While some sought a middle ground, such as relocating the flag to a museum or placing it alongside educational plaques, others remained firm in their stances. The conversations were often emotionally charged, with each side feeling that their identity, values, and memories were being challenged. Despite these differences, there were instances where dialogue led to greater understanding. Some older residents, after engaging in discussions with younger generations, acknowledged the flag's evolving meaning and its potential to cause harm. Likewise, some younger activists gained a deeper appreciation for the historical significance the flag held for their elders, even if they still believed it should not be displayed in public spaces. The generational divide in Crestwood's Confederate flag debate underscored the broader cultural shifts taking place in the nation. As younger generations push for a more inclusive society, older generations strive to protect the legacies they hold dear. Bridging this divide requires ongoing conversation, empathy, and a willingness to confront difficult truths while seeking a path forward that respects both history and progress.